Lee's now looking at this in a way of humour lens, which is really interesting because I can see Lee is super uncomfortable.
I don't know that I'd frame it as I love myself, but maybe that's the next step I need to take as part of that whole wellness, well-being type journey.
Like on my exercise bike, for example, occasionally I go, cool, I'm proper, like today I was proper feeling it and I was like, I don't really want to carry on. I was like, no, come on, you can do it. I'm not having to fend off wild bears in my house. It does me how I am, and I've gone bloody terrific. I am excellent.
Security is a heap of love, and I love that because I think that's exactly
beautiful.
what it is. Inspiration Nation, hello, Lee Kemp here for another week on the podcast, here for the first time in 4 weeks with a full set of inspirationers, which is what I'm calling us now. By which, of course, I mean I'm here with my good friends, Joe Noya and Ryan Boniface. How are we doing, both of you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you.
Very well, thank you, Lee.
I saw you have a little chuckle to yourself at the start there, Joe. You nearly had a bit of laughter on the podcast when we started.
I know.
Are you just happy that we're all back together? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, I just love it. I love the fact that the gang's back together. That's
what I like to hear. So thank you, everyone, of course, downloading, watching each and every week. We appreciate you all. Check us out on social media at Listen to IN, Listen TOIN. Joe, of course, is Jose Noya-Inspiration. Search engine on any platform and you will find him there. Of course, sign up, follow him on Instagram, and you can catch us live every Tuesday at 8:30 UK time, 3:30 in the afternoon Eastern time if you're out in the States, and you can watch the podcast live. And I always forget to reference this, not only live, but a week in advance for most weeks. We're a bit behind on our schedule now, but when we get back on track in the next few weeks, you will be getting the podcast early and live over at Jose Noya on Instagram. I forgot what platform we were talking about there. Right, I've done my shilling. I'm a little bit out of practice. What are we talking about this week, Joseph?
Right, now, I'm going to just say this, and I'm just going to watch your reactions as I say this.
Oh, I don't like this already.
So, even before we started on the podcast, we did a little bit of a warm-up session. I thought, is this the right subject for me to choose this? And I just know, coming back from a week off, that you know what my job's to do, don't you? You know what my job's here to do for you two is to make you guys
comfortable.
Very comfortable. You know me, very comfortable. So, Ryan, I know you're looking a bit pensive there. You're doing the old, you're not quite sure it's going to come out.
You were building up some good suspense here, Joe. I like it. So go on then, hit us with it.
Right, that's Lee's personality coming out. I just wanted to get on with it now. Just like stop the suspense, Joe. So it's about loving yourself. See how that went down, guys? Can you just see the faces here?
3, 2, 1. Inspiration Nation. Catch you guys later.
So everybody, you can see that from Lee got so uncomfortable. He wanted to end the podcast very quickly.
Come on then, Joe. Give us a spiel.
So this is where I want to throw it over to you very, very quickly. Because I usually do a long spiel and it's all this talk from Joe. But I'll just quickly how I come up with it. I was watching a video this morning. There was a inspirational speaker called Louise Hayes and saying you've got to look at the mirror and love yourself. And so I want to throw it over to you. What do we think we mean by this, guys? Love yourself. What are we talking about? What does it mean in your world?
So is this, and you said it there with the mirror, is that, you get up in the morning, you get ready for work, you either leave the house or walk to whatever room your computer's in, you give one look in the mirror and you say, go get him, tiger, give yourself a little wink and walk off to work.
See how you saw that, every guy? So give yourself a look. Lee's now looking at this in a way of humour lens, which is really interesting because I can see Lee is super uncomfortable with, even if you went up to a mirror and say, hey, Lee, I love you. Like, I'm going to look at Instagram now. Like, Lee, I love you. Like in terms of if you did that to yourself in a mirror, of course, Lee, I love you, right? And love you too, Ryan, okay? Not a love here on the podcast. So this is something that I don't practice very often, but I thought was a really good reminder because a lot of the time what's going on in our heads, we perhaps don't do that. We probably are quite self-critical. I think a lot of people are self-critical. I'm less self-critical than I used to be, but I still have that self. If I've got a spot, and I've got a few spots around my face at the moment, and I go, what's that spot? And you don't even notice it. But the thing is, if you want to go through life and really appreciate things, you have to win the inner game. And the inner game is loving yourself. And how do you do that? So how do you guys, I mean, I want you to be honest. Have you ever thought of this? And what do you think about it? And be really brutally honest.
So is there for you, Joe, is there a difference between being comfortable with yourself and loving yourself, or are they kind of one in the same concept?
For me, they're one in the same concept, because you're not being self-critical. You are loving yourself, and you're very comfortable in your own skin. I think that's what it is. And of course, there's always things you want to improve. And I'm still working on this, because I think when I went through my depression, I didn't love myself at all. I didn't love myself at all. And I think, and Ryan, really, Ryan, and also just to sort of throw over that bit, Ryan was sort of talking about earlier, when you were talking about the other day, last week, you were talking about inspiration and coaching, actually coaching who inspires you and all that sort of thing. We talked about that. And, we don't have enough of these conversations, right? So this is probably a conversation. You don't go into the office and go, hey, you loved yourself this morning, right? People think, well, you're crazy. What are you talking about, So I think these are types of conversations which can be quite uncomfortable, because people don't like doing it. People might find that, I think the hardest thing in the world people find is to look in the mirror and go, do you know what? Love you, Joe, right? Actually say that to yourself and look into your eyes and actually say it. I've asked, I'm not going to say names, but I've asked a couple of people if they do that, and they'd say, I blatantly said no. When he said no, it's because they're super uncomfortable with themselves, right?
Yeah.
But it's a test. It's a test as to whether you do.
I'd say on that bit then, Joe, because I would say, and we talked about this in previous episodes, can't remember what number, but go back and listen in the archives, you'll definitely find it somewhere, where I talked about the fact that I was, particularly in my 20s, was incredibly insecure and was really craving to be accepted and part of the group, and had this concept that I had to do what everyone else was doing to be part of the group, which I don't, is almost alien to me now. So I'd say I'm very comfortable with who I am. I dress the way I like to dress. I do the things I like to do. I meet with the people I like to meet. And in fact, people who sometimes I speak to who are quite self-critical, I will kind of say to them, be comfortable with yourself, be who you are, don't be so critical to yourself. So I'd say largely, in a way like you are, that you're always working on it and always improving it. But I'm in the place where I'm very comfortable with who I am, and reasonably self-assured in my abilities and stuff like that. I don't know that I'd frame it as I love myself, but maybe that's the next step I need to take as part of that whole wellness, well-being type journey.
So I would say to you, if I say to you, right now, when you said about people, when you said you tell people to be comfortable with themselves.
Yeah.
How do you think that goes down with people?
I think it depends on the mood they're in when they talk about it, but because what I'll normally do is I'll back it up with some things about them that are good, or that they're good at, or I know they feel good about when they're not in a good place.
Do you think that gives them that love, though? Do you think, even if you tell them, do you think that does enough for them?
Sometimes it does when it resonates right, but when they believe it, not because I've told them it, because it triggers something in their head where they're like, oh yeah, no, actually that is right. So I don't think I can tell them into it, but I think it helps to give that positive affirmation to people.
Okay, let's talk about you and Ryan then. So if I said to your exercise,
don't make me be nice to Ryan. This is not what I signed up for.
Your exercise is to, at one point or some point, to actually go and look in the mirror and say out loud, I love you, and say your name. How does that make you feel? Well, I know you're not into feelings, but what is coming to your mind? What
do you
is
do
it?
This?
Sorry?
Do you do this? Do you do
I
this?
Did it.
Have you done it? How did it make you feel?
I haven't done it. No, I did it today, and I looked into my eyes and I said it, and I felt all right with it. I actually felt all right with it. But that's because I suppose, having watched that video, I wanted to challenge myself to do it.
Right. So it's been a while since we've done this, Joe.
Go on.
You guys get a bit of input from Ryan, and I'll be right back.
So Ryan, he's put you on the spot here, because, bless you, Ryan, this is like leaving you out on a limb here a little bit. But what are your honest thoughts about this, Ryan? I know you're direct, and it's good. Be direct, be honest, because I think these are sorts of things that can be challenging, right?
I'm a really nonchalant person. I don't care about much. No, I suppose that's not true, actually. I care about a lot of things, but I don't care about as many things as what I would suppose a normal person does. So my feeling of my own self-worth, or or my own self-appreciation doesn't have much of a bearing on me because I've never needed it to. I've never been in a position where I felt that I've needed to feel that way, if that makes sense.
Explain to me that. Describe to me more about what that is.
The need to not have to do it. I don't have to do it, I feel, because I've never needed that kind of pick-me-up.
And what's the reason you don't think you need to pick me up?
I'm just built differently. I don't know. I don't know what the reasoning behind it is. It's the same when we were talking about motivation and stuff. Like, there isn't a sole thing that I get out of bed and go, that's what I want to do today for. I get out of bed and get on with things because that's life. That's my realistic approach to things. So again, I don't feel as though in this scenario that I've ever A, needed to have that conversation with myself, or B, felt that I've not appreciated myself in that way anyway.
Okay. So when you said you need to appreciate yourself in that way, are there any ways where you do appreciate yourself, or not appreciate yourself? I don't know where that would sit. But...
For the same reason, no, because I don't feel as though that's something I have to chase. I don't feel that's part of my psyche that will make me feel better or good about something. I'm always okay. It's very, very rare that I'm not okay. And when I say very rare, probably count on 4 fingers the amount of times in my life where I've not felt okay. Don't know why that is. I don't know if my chemical imbalance is really balanced. I don't know if I understand myself well enough to know that if I'm not 1,000,000% good one day, I know what I can do to perk myself back up. I don't know what it is. I just don't tend to be in a position much where I need to support myself like that.
Okay.
Like occasionally I'll be doing something, I don't know, like on my exercise bike, for example. Occasionally I'll be going, cool, I'm proper, like today I was proper feeling it and I was like, I don't really want to carry on, but I was like, no, come on, you can do it. That's different because I'm physically trying to do something that I need to push myself through. Whereas I think what you're describing is more on an emotional level and more on a mental kind of side of things. And in that scenario, that I don't feel as though I ever have to perk myself up. Obviously, there are some days where Lee and I maybe will catch up and I'll say, cool, today's been rough or terrible, and he'll say something similar. And we just, I don't know if he fully believes it or if he says it because I say it, but we just go, we go again tomorrow, it's fine, doesn't matter. Like, we can pick up the pieces. I don't need to sit there and go, I don't feel like I need to sit there and say, come on, you can really do it tomorrow. You can. I don't feel as though that would give me anything, and I've never had to try.
So when you say okay, I'm okay. You said that was really interesting.
Yeah. I'm all right. I'm okay. I'm good.
What does okay mean?
I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me. Is what it means. I don't honestly. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm not unwell. I'm not sick. I'm not emotionally unstable. I'm not hungry. I'm okay. Like, I'm fine. Like, I don't know. And a lot of people say they're fine for the sake of saying they're fine, because I don't want to get into conversations about things. And there'll be some days again where I'm not 100% on things, on life, on whatever. But everyone has those days. But it doesn't mean that I don't know that at the end of that day how to feel better about things. I'll put on a TV show I like. Or I'll go to bed a bit earlier. But that's self-care. That's not psyching myself up in a mirror and showing myself appreciation. That's just looking after myself, like, mentally. It's very difficult for me to not be okay.
So is there okay? So there's different versions of okay for you, though, is there?
Yeah, I think there is for everyone, isn't there?
So what type of versions of okay are there for Ryan?
There's okay, that are normal, I'm a good day. I'm all right. There's a no.
What's normal? All right. What does that look
Well,
like?
nobody's caused me any unaggravated stress. I'm not having to fend off wild bears in my house. It's just a normal day. I've got up, I've had a shower, I've gone to work. Lee's kept off my back a bit today. It's been all right. That's
when
what
today's days happen.
It's just an okay day, you know. It's okay. There are other versions of okay where maybe I've been in meetings all day and I haven't got, or a lot of the day, and I haven't quite got to the stuff that I'd like to have gotten to today. And that maybe puts me a little bit on edge that I need to catch up tomorrow or whatever. Or a fire may start at work, as all these people do. You know, in all jobs, certain situations arise that need your immediate attention. They're not an ideal scenario, but they don't detriment the outcome of my day. I may be a bit tired if they're quite time consuming and they're quite intense. I may be a bit annoyed at someone if they're the reason that it's happened, but I don't come away from it going, I'm really depleted. I need to crash out and cry about things, for example. That as an extreme example. I don't get like that. I just get on with things. I decompartmentalize really well. Like if something goes wrong at work, it goes wrong at work. I can generally leave it at the door, unless it's something that really winds me up or something that I know I've done really wrong or I've really messed up or whatever. Then that will play on my mind. But that's a physical thing that's more different than what I envisage your subject line sits on.
So when you said okay, you said it sits on that line. Is there a better version of
Is there a lot of follow-up questions to this?
Is there a better version of okay for Ryan than just okay? Because it sounds to me okay is just an okay. I'm very level. So it sounds like
that generally is what it is. That generally is.
So is there a better level of okay for Ryan in there?
I mean,
and what's that look like? If there could be, what would it look like?
A lot of things that I'm working on go well. I don't know. Projects I'm on at work, I get good feedback on, or I get a good dinner. It's a cheat day for a dinner, and I get something nice. That's something to look forward to. That's a good day, you know. Like as an example, I got promoted again a couple of weeks ago, or I say again, or back, and I bought a few beers. That was a good, okay day. I had a few beers in the evening on the Friday, and I chilled out and spoke to a few mates online, played a few games. But my days are generally the same quite a lot, even outside of lockdown. I wake up, I go to work, I come home, I play computer games, or I'll go out to the pub or whatever, and I catch up with the boys. The day doesn't really change much for me. So, and that doesn't bother me. I don't get bored of it. It is what it is. Sometimes I try and find more exciting things to do, but so does everyone. And other days I like doing what I always do, like everyone. So it's just okay. I don't think I've ever woken up and somebody's asked me how I am and I've gone bloody terrific. I am excellent today because I'm just okay. I'm just okay.
Have you ever had times in your life when you've not just been okay and you think, oh, I've had I've had this next level, really like, wow, that's amazing. That was like super amazing.
Good.
Have you ever had
on a good side of that spectrum?
Like you've gone, oh my God, that was just so amazing, this experience. Because you described a lot of external things to make you feel a certain way. So you've described, going out with the beers or whatever like that. So I'm just trying to find out, I suppose, what that really amazing level would look like. Ryan, have you had in those experiences at all in your life?
No, there are some days that are better than others, obviously. When things have gone really well at work, I'll come away and go, yeah, that was a really good day. Because that's where a lot of my motivation and a lot of my self-deprecation or self-appreciation, if you like, comes from, is doing a good job. Because I spend a third of my working, or half of my alive hours a day or awake hours a day are doing a working generally for most people. So that's like a really big thing. And where I don't have a family, or I don't have a missus, or I don't have any proper things to stress about, like work is like my thing, you know, like my career is my thing. It's what drives me and what I do. We've had these conversations countless times, but that's just what I what I do is I wake up to work right now, and one day hopefully I'll meet someone and maybe I'll have a family, and those priorities may change, or they may be added to my priority list. But right now I don't have to focus on anything else. I can live my life. I can do what I want. So an okay day is whatever I want it to be. I'm not held back by boundaries except for having to go to work. But that's where enjoying your job and like doing what you do helps, because if I hated doing what I did and wanted to get out of there all the time, then I probably wouldn't be okay all the time. I'd probably be finding excuses to feel bad about things. But where I'm enjoying work and enjoying what I do, I find reasons to be happy about things, I guess, because I don't have those negative connotations forced upon me.
Yeah, I really like that. But I mean, I didn't get an answer to what made you feel amazing. It didn't sound like I had anything.
Because you've asked me off the cuff. I don't know. You'd have to come back to me, or I may not even. I may not even have an answer for you. I don't know.
So this is it, because this is where I think we can live an okay life. And an okay life's okay. But what I'm looking for, what I was looking to see is whether you had anything that I experienced this thing which was like, I was super engaged. And not saying you're not super engaged, it's like, okay. And I said, what does that sound like? Oh, it's okay at work, a lot of external things. So my challenge to you is just to sort of think about, when was the last time you felt, wow, this is, I really like, I am so engaged with this that like things just fly by. I'm just like super in it. It just feels like visceral. Something to think about. Because again, you talked about work a lot, and there was a lot of work.
A lot of the good things that have come out of work that make me feel good involve people in this conversation. And I'm fed up of giving him excuses to feel good about himself. So I don't want to talk about him too much.
Are we going to bring Lee in? So Lee, do you want to just add to what you want to come in and
yeah, just quickly, I'm just going to give a shout out to a few things on your Instagram right now, Joe. One a little bit while ago, but Angela said, I love this. And it's rewording of something we've put on a few times, where we say comparison is a thief of joy, and Angela's put insecurity as a thief of love. And I love that, because I think that's exactly what it is people's insecurities not letting them feel good about themselves. And Nina's just said there as well, which is exactly right. Saying about the okay life is that not just British culture to not get overexcited about anything, which I think is just is societally what we're like, isn't it? We don't get too grumpy and we don't get too excited because we're British. Obviously, I went away there, Joe, and I went up to the mirror, and I told myself that I love myself. I did it a few times to make sure.
Did you say Lee? Lee, did you mention your name? Did you say
I did.
Okay.
I said Lee. So how did you feel when you did this, Joe?
Do you know what? I felt pretty neutral. I wanted to test it because I wanted to see whether I did feel uncomfortable, but I didn't. I just felt, I could look into my eyes and I just wanted to see what thoughts came up. And not a lot came up. Actually, I felt just didn't feel anything, which is really strange. But I want to do it some more and see what comes up, because I want to actually do it and see what thoughts come up, whether I'm self-criticizing, whether I'm whatever comes up, right? I want to see what comes up because I want to see what's going on inside, right? But that's how I found it today. I did it today. I don't know, because I just watched the video, went upstairs, watched and did it. And yeah, I didn't really have anything that come back. Although I just said I could say it to myself, because people said they felt super uncomfortable. I didn't feel that. So that's what came.
I didn't feel uncomfortable. I think I did it 3 times. By the way, this is one of those things like where I did the meditation as well, where I've done it now, but I'll probably never do this again because it's not 100% my bag, although I can to an extent see the merits. But I said it a bit quietly, so I made myself say it louder.
Well done.
To make sure it's, I was saying it. But there's a feeling I get when I tell someone, that I love them. It's not, and it might be something, because generally that's not something that's said all the time, like within my family and stuff. We're really close and we see each other a lot and we talk a lot, but we don't do the touchy feely much. And there's a feeling you get when you tell someone you love them, and it's it's a positive reaction, but you've made them feel good by saying it. And I kind of, even though I was saying it to myself, I had that good feeling of putting it out there, which is a bit odd.
This is really
felt good.
Well, that's the thing. You said I did it, but it's something I wouldn't do again. But you've just said that it made me feel good. So why would you not do it again?
Saying, well, I suppose it's not 100% me. It did feel good, but I'd probably have to write myself a note next to the mirror to say, remember to make yourself feel good.
So it's really interesting. You said,
Although if someone came around to my house and saw that message, they'd probably feel a bit weirded out.
but that is, what does that say about when you said that if someone come along, they said a bit weirded out. When you're saying that, what's coming into your mind there?
That was me making a bad joke. But back to the thing about why I wouldn't do it.
But why do you go to jokes, Lee? Right, this is what I'm getting to, right? Because this is a real interesting.
Because I'm the humour of the podcast. That's why.
And I wanted to steal an observation. For me, it's like when you go to humour, it just feels like this could be a little bit difficult sometimes.
I don't know. I just know me, and I know it's not natural to do that, so I might do it again. I also think maybe the effect might, it had an effect because I don't say it all the time. Whereas if I did all the time, I'd maybe lose it. I can give it a go and see how it goes, but it's just not. I don't know.
You described your family weren't touchy-feely, and Ryan actually came in and agreed, yeah, we're the same. So there's really interesting dynamic about family culture, isn't there? And about how that environment can play into potentially our own thinking patterns and stuff. And I just wanted to sort of explore that a little bit. Tell me a little bit about that and how that may impact this particular exercise, do you think, you guys?
I don't know how much it necessarily would, because again, it's the external thing rather than the internal thing, isn't it? Because you can grow up, you see examples of people who are in relationships where grow up within an environment where it has, it is more cuddly or touchy-feely or whatever else like that, but it doesn't necessarily mean people feel good about themselves because you kind of acclimatise to whatever your norm is. So I don't know that necessarily for me is a direct correlation onto it.
I think Ryan's Lee's looking at the Instagram now.
I am. I like all the interaction. That's
really interested about how I suddenly divert into the phone, which is interesting behaviour. I love it.
Safety phone. That's what it is.
I feel like I disagree.
I'm not saying. Oh, sorry. Go on, Ryan.
I was going to say, I feel like I think the exact opposite. I feel the way that somebody's brought up and the way they've experienced showing emotions and things like that can affect how they display emotions in their relationships and lives. I have like a direct effect, but again, that's just my opinion. I mean, my relationship with my mum is very different to my relationship with my dad in that sense. When I was growing up, my dad was very much similar to how Lee describes what he was like. I almost could describe it as feeling like a 20th century like royal, in the sense that like you didn't get to see much of your mum or your dad maybe because they were too busy, and the way they were brought up was quite hands off, and you're kind of left to fend for yourself if you like. But maybe that's more of a middle to upper class thing of past decades, centuries, whatever. But with my mum, it's the polar opposite. And I'm not quite sure what one I prefer because I've experienced both,
So if you were going to choose one,
I don't know. I'm probably hands off, and that probably doesn't sound very good. That probably doesn't sound good at all. I mean, but I would probably say hands off because it's easier. Because I've been brought up in a way where I don't have to show emotion. I would rather not have to show it to everyone or to like multiple people. So I think that also leaves you open to being a bit vulnerable and easier to be hurt.
So what you're saying to me is that you don't display emotion because you might leave yourself open and vulnerable. Sometimes.
That's not the excuse every time, but sometimes.
No, and you said it's an excuse. You said excuse. What was the reason?
Well, or a reasoning. I feel like I feel like the human nature is to be loving and to be appreciative of oneself and one's family or one's friends or whatever, but it just isn't bestowed into me, I guess. just is what it is. I'm not sour about it. As I said to you, I'm okay. Everything's all right. I'm not sour about it. It's just one of those things, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's really interesting when you said around, oh, I'll choose the sort of away stuff because it's more comfortable.
Yeah, it's easier because
It's easier, right?
It's easier. Yeah, it's easier. And as I say, less chance of you potentially getting hurt if you leave yourself open to vulnerability.
So this is sort of questions that I say around, is there any, we don't want to be vulnerable, but if we're not being vulnerable, what's that saying to us? If we can't be vulnerable, what do you think that says to us?
That we've been hurt. I don't know. That in a realistic nature, it's smart to defend yourself. I'm not a psychologist. I couldn't tell you the perfect reason why, but that's how I potentially understand it myself. I don't know if Lee differs or is similar on that concept. I don't know.
So, okay, we're not here to say psychology, really just a personal experience we're talking about, isn't it? About what makes us feel uncomfortable and uncomfortable. And actually, we've talked about being uncomfortable and actually leaning into being uncomfortable things and actually digging into those things are the places where we get our growth. So I suppose that's where I was going with that, is that are we choosing?
Again, I don't have responsibilities like kids or a long-term relationship to know exactly what I would be like, but that's how I envisage I would be, I guess. But I will never know the true answer to that until it happens.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
Lee, you got any views on that? I mean, that's really good. I mean, because I really like that thing about choosing that. Oh, it's easier. It's less uncomfortable because we open ourselves up. We could be hurt, but then does that? I mean, for me, does that then stop us loving more because we are choosing the hands-off approach because we're afraid of being hurt? Any views on that, Lee? Or
Well, I think that could well be the case, because staying in the comfort zone and looping back to what we're talking about here. Do you think as well that potentially you risk doing that with yourself as much as outwardly with other people as well? Because like I said, I don't. That's not something I'd say that often. And when it does get said in a situation, there is a good feeling, and I did get that with the mirror thing as well. So,
do you feel that the novelty would wear off though? Just as a quick question.
Well, I do think that is a genuine thing that could happen. So I will I'll lean into the uncomfortable space, Joe, and I will write myself that note by the mirror. I won't do it every day, but I might do it a few times between now and this week and just see what changes that evokes within myself.
And I think the important thing about this is like to do it like with real feeling and real like meaning, because you could just go, oh, I love myself, and really not look at your eyes and really like.
That's what I did. That I looked straight at myself in the mirror, and the first time was a bit wishy-washy, which is why I pushed to do that again. And
it is. I mean, I thought, and I did it, and I did feel a little. I suppose the bit when I did it, I did feel a little bit silly. But as you really look into your eyes and like you would gaze at someone that you were really engaged with, like it's yourself, right? It's quite, I didn't feel anything at that point, but like I say, I'm going to continue to try and see what happens, but do it in an intense way. So maybe we can come back and talk about this experiment. We're getting some love.
It'd be good. I'll have to say, Ryan, though, it's the most romance I've had since lockdown started. So there was a benefit in that.
Do you see that? Gone to humour again. Did you see that, everybody?
That's what I like to do.
This is what Lee does.
We're on our countdown, guys. So I'm going to have to wrap us up, I'm afraid.
Oh, what already? I was
as the taskmaster I am. I was as well.
Joe,
you delivered on your promise of making us feel uncomfortable as always, which I would like to say I appreciate you for, but I might do tomorrow, but I don't right now.
At least you're honest. At least you're both honest.
But it's good. I will try. I will try with that because, I think it highlights, and this might be something to go into on another show as well. Is the importance of that, the whole self-assurance. And Ryan, you said it. You said self-care, and I think this is a different type of that. And especially at the moment, I think that's such an important thing.
Well, I just think there's a lot of people that self-criticize and don't love themselves. They don't appreciate themselves at all, and they self-deprecate. And when people self-deprecate, there's a lot of signs there and around that they are hurting inside, right? Because they use it as a mechanism to almost like to protect themselves because they can put it out there and then they can sort of like ignore the issue, right, which is going on. So I think it's an important thing. So you do heal people's self-deprecating. There could be a confidence issue, things like that. You just got to read the situation. But yeah, I just thought it was I just thought this was a very off the intuitive subject today, because I picked the subject. I thought this is like, oh, this is the super one that I thought would be quite good to talk about, especially like you said, Lee, in lockdown. But yeah, carry on.
I think people out there listening, people watching, give this a go as well. Look in that mirror, tell yourself you love you, see how it feels. Drop us comments on our social media, either at Listen to IN, Listen TOIN, Joe, of course, Jose Noya, Inspiration Nation. Tell us how it went. Leave some comments in the show thread on YouTube if that's where you are watching. We really do appreciate it. Right, any closing comments before I start to shield some Inspiration Nation merchandise and wrap us up? Anything from you, Ryan?
No, I'm good, thank you.
It feels suitably bruised by Joe now.
That's it. I'm wounded.
Anything to wrap us up, Joe?
No, I think I'm going to leave it there. I think I've done enough today. I think I'll leave it there.
Thank you, everyone, for listening, for watching, for joining us on Instagram as well. Again, Jose Noya, Inspiration Nation. Give him a follow. It will alert you when we are on each and every Tuesday, give or take about 8:30. Check us out on the inspirationnation.org.uk as well. Get Joe's fantastic coaching service. You've just seen a lens of what Joe can do. You can get that one-on-one with a free 20-minute consultation. And of course, get your fantastic Inspiration Nation merch, or swag, as Ryan really likes when I call it. Quick mug shot for the cameras for everyone. Inspiration Nation mugs are available. Hoodies, t-shirts, face masks, of course, new for 2020, 2021. All available there. Thank you very much. All that's left for me to do is to count us down. 3, 2, 1. Inspiration Nation.
Catch you guys later.
Hope you enjoyed that video about loving yourself. Make sure you do the exercise. Tell us what you think. Comment. We'd love to hear from you. And also, don't forget, check out these videos right here. These are the other episodes of the Inspiration Nation podcast. I'm sure you'll absolutely love them. And also, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell so you know when another video goes live. So, Inspiration Nation, and I'll see you there.